I mean, when you say to them, can you just leave the kids alone? And they just, oh, my pearls, I got to clutch them. If they just lose their minds over that. If it were just a few teachers, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to say, okay, well, they're groomers. Okay, they're taking a stance against whatever they perceive the bill to be. That's their right. But when the entire mainstream media comes out.
Yes.
And let's just, you know what? I'm going to bring up this article. This is from The Week. And again, I saw this yesterday and I thought it was a parody. I almost sent it to you and said, is this the Babylon Bee rebranding themselves?
It came out as The Week now.
It says, why are Republicans so concerned about, quote, grooming, unquote? Suddenly, the American right is fairly exploding with accusations of sexual, quote, unquote, grooming against its political opponents. Christina Pershaw, the spokesperson for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, used the term last month to defend the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. The so-called by you. You and the media branded it the Don't Say Gay bill because you knew it would drum up insane outrage from people who, I guess like Ron Perlman, just don't know how to read. Because obviously, if you can't read a 5-line bill, you know what? I just always going to take a moment and just say I love the simplicity of the bill. That's how all the bills should be. One page. What are you trying to accomplish? Yay or nay. That's it. But anyways, they lost their mind.
And that's
over
the thing. They set it up like that, almost hoping that the left would walk into this trap.
It's almost like a honeypot.
It really is.
It's beautiful.
Because then they turn around and they fight against it, saying, oh, well, this is Don't Say Gay. This is, going after this protected community, when it's really not. It's protecting children.
Exactly. And
from
young children.
Overexposure to topics that they don't need to be exposed to.
Exactly. Kids are, for all intents and purposes, and I know if this boils your blood, then you should probably go move to New York and register as a sex offender. But children are essentially sexless. They're goofy little creatures that run around. They mimic adults. They mimic things they see. And they try to have fun no matter what. To them, everything is about how can I enjoy myself? Because they're kids. And that's all it is. That's why this bill, long overdue, is because kids are very susceptible to their environment. I mean, we don't even need to go into studies or psychology or anything. Anyone who's ever been around a kid knows. I mean, kids mimic those around them, and it's all about having a good time. So if you had some impressionable adult, hey, I'm Mr. Bill. I'm your teacher this time. And, well, I'm going to talk to you about, what me and my partner did over the weekend. And you're like, did you go hiking? No, we didn't. It's like, okay, that has no business in this conversation.
Well, no. I mean, the one teacher that you're referencing.
Exactly. I'm referencing the guy on MSNBC.
And from his perspective, from the way that he said it, I can understand why someone would want to avoid an awkward conversation where a child asks them about their sexual orientation. That's the thing, is we have teachers out there trying to say that they have the right to have that conversation with a child and teach the child about their sexual orientation, which is wrong.
I was going to say, I 100% agree. What child who has not been groomed would ever ask a question like that, realistically?
That's the thing, is he was talking about, well, I want to be able to say that I was out paddle boating with my husband.
And say it.
And that's exactly it.
If you were going to be like me and my partner, we're out having a great time hiking or paddle boating, good job, Mr. Bill.
Here's the thing, is there's a part of the left, there's a part of this society who truly believes that children have been shielded from anything gay related.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Our children accept the fact that there are men out there with men. There's women out there with women. There's a wide variety of people who are with who they love. And it never becomes an issue until the person wants more attention for being that person.
Until the person wants to exercise the privilege we just talked about. And the funny thing is, we talk about our children, and of course we know Disney has been huge in the news lately, and it's even gotten to the point where Disney is now synonymous with groomer, and it's just hilarious. But there's a show that we discovered just recently called Gravity Falls that our kids love. It's a Disney show. It only had 2 seasons. Phenomenal show. Check it out. If you're an adult, there's a lot of humor that goes right over the kid's head that you just will crack up on. But anyways, great show to watch with your kids. However, the two police officers very clearly in a relationship. However, it's very rarely touched on outside of a joke of like, oh, officer, whatever your name is, I missed you. Oh, I missed you too. You know, it's very rarely touched upon, but it's there.
Oh, see, I didn't really.
You didn't even realize it.
I didn't. No, I mean, I know what you're hinting at, but I didn't take it like that.
Well, that's just it. In the last episode, in the very, well, okay, I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but in the finale, they very clearly embraced and expressed their love for each other. But that's the beautiful thing. You are 100% correct in that you could interpret it either way.
Exactly.
They could have been the best of friends, or they could have actually been a couple. And to a kid, it's who cares? They're two cops who like each other. They like working together.
I took it in the reference of a kid's mindset of who cares?
Exactly. And that's what I liked about it.
That's what we need to do as a society. It needs to be less of this is the main focus and be more of who cares?
Who cares indeed. So, where were we here?
Unless you're trying to sway someone to be one way or the other. That's
grooming,
when you care.
Which is the issue. So, quote, if you're against the anti-grooming bill, she tweeted, you are probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8-year-old children. Again, kindergarten through 3rd grade, 4 to 8-year-old children is all this bill is talking about. All they're losing their minds about is 4 to 8-year-old children. The reason I think it should have gone farther is because of course, I don't think that conversation should be had until probably a minimum 13.
I don't think that conversation should be had by a teacher at all.
Oh, absolutely. I guess in my mind,
maybe I'm a little bit more conservative
okay.
in the fact that I don't think that the schools should be teaching anything related to sexual orientation.
Yes,
I believe that comes down to your individual household, your individual child, your individual situation.
It's the parent's job.
It is very much the parent's job.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we have taken that away from parents and said that the society needs to raise the child is where we've gone wrong. Because look at, we're taking our lead from the now current president of the United States, whose child lost multiple laptops with security codes on them, is in the process of being brought up on charges.
Crazy charges, too. We just saw a whistleblower article where there's apparently like some obscene amount of data that's going to be released containing photographs, videos, documents that have never before been seen, and it's pretty sick. Sorry.
And you can say whatever you want about Beau Biden and about the daughter.
It's not Jill. It's the other one, the diary.
Yes,
Ashley. Is it Ashley?
But we're supposed to take our parental advice from a man whose son is on camera sleeping with prostitutes and
doing drugs and underage individuals. All that. It's literally everything. The worst aspects of anything a child should ever have to go through is literally on camera, and he's just reveling at it. And now this man's father is the president of the United States telling us as parents what we should or should not believe. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. I'll hop back to the article here. So, Rod Dreher, who writes that the American Conservative has in recent days lobbed the term at pervy Disney for its belated opposition to the new law and labeled Democrats the party of child mutilators and kidnappers. And MAGA outlet American Greatness on Monday printed a broadside against groomer fragility. It's not a very nice word, to be sure, wrote the American Greatness author, but the right must decide. Do we prefer to play nice with perverts who are very sexually interested in our children, or do we prefer to stand up for the innocence of childhood against societal forces that seek to mutilate little kids for political gain? Man, you remember that picture of the mom getting her child a booster shot? I believe it was a coup shot.
Yes.
And she was tweeting it, and I mean, you know, I talked about AOC and Adam Schiff and like the crazy-eyed people. Oh man, this lady was frightening. But the point is, it wasn't about the kid in that picture. No. She was looking at her camera, and she was happy to be doing it for the masses.
Well, because that's the difference between some of the more liberal parents and some of the more conservative parents. When a truly conservative parent makes a decision for their child, or makes a decision concerning their child.
Exactly.
Their child and the child's development is the focus.
Yep. You would think it
When a liberal parent does it, It's how much feedback can I get from the outside world to validate my decision as a parent.
It's about virtue signaling.
Yes.
100%.
And that's why you end up with these kids who don't understand that their parents there to help them make decisions,
Right.
and not their parents there to bring in the community vote on
Yes.
how to make a decision.
Yes, children should not be part of the collective as far as decisions being made for adults. But anyways, and here's where he starts to actually go on the defensive. It says, it's hard to know how much of this is sincere hysteria and how much is ugly McCarthyist politics. Mostly the latter, probably. In its normal usage, quote, groomer suggests a sexual predator carefully prepping their prey for assault. But Dreher, who has long been obsessively shrill about the rise of gay and trans identities in American culture, says that's not really what he means. Quote, I think it is coming to have somewhat of a broader meaning, an adult who wants to separate children from a normative sexual and gender identity to inspire confusion in them and turn them against their parents and all the normative traditions and institutions in society. It may not specifically be to groom them for sexual activity, but it is certainly to groom them to take on a sexual gender identity at odds with the norm. I don't see anything controversial with that. Do you? With what he's saying?
I mean,
there?
that's exactly what it is.
Exactly. And the fact that the immediate defense was like, oh, why do you hate alphabet people? Why are you against this or that? And it's like, I didn't say anything about them. You associated that. All I said was leave the kids alone.
Well, and it's hiding behind that smokescreen.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing about it is they immediately think it's an attack on their community. And of course, that says more about them than we ever could, that they think when you say, hey, don't groom children, they say, how dare you attack our community? It's like, no, we're not attacking any communities. We're literally saying, leave the children alone. The bill itself that you claim is called the Don't Say Gay bill could easily be called the Don't Say Straight bill because it bans all discussions. All discussions because kids shouldn't be talking about this stuff, and adults shouldn't be talking about it with them.
And when it comes down to it, the teacher should be saying, "Go ask your parents."
As always, I mean the over encroachment of the government into our everyday lives and now into our children's lives has never been worse, and that's why I think the biggest thing that we can all hope for is a reduced federal government. It should be up to the states. It should be up to the parents. It should be up to we should be, and we've seen this a lot with. The parents' response at school board meetings, and of course the DOJ's response of labeling the parents as terrorists and monitoring them when all they're saying is, hey, why are you teaching our kid this stuff? We want to say in this because this is not cool. Then, of course, the triggering begins. And that has led us here. We actually have a bill that all it says, like you said a million times, it literally just says, hey, kindergarten through third grade, just keep this discussion out of it. If they ask you, tell them, you can either tell their parents, or if you do tell them something, make sure that they know they can discuss it with their parents, and they should.
Yes.
Because the thing is, you're still allowed to do that with this bill. It doesn't say you cannot talk to them, period. You can't do it in a public discussion, and you can't lead a class like that. But if a kid comes up and asks you, which, again, probably shows something else going on, but if a kid for some reason comes up to the teacher and asks them, they are allowed to comment. However, they cannot say anything to the child about not talking to their parents. So I would say, I agree with you, the safest thing that anyone can do in this position, go ask your parents.
Yeah.
They'll give you the answer that they approve of, and then I'm not liable.
Well, and kind of jumping over to your next article.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
And really the line underneath it says it all. So the Texas Tribune, so the Republicans say they don't want young kids learning about sex. Educators say that's already the standard.
And the article title, critics of Texas's push for don't say gay bill, say acknowledging LGBTQ people isn't the same as teaching kids about sex. And then, like you said, the byline, Republicans say they don't want young kids learning about sex. Educators say that's already the standard. Unfortunately, we as being conservatives have been asleep at the wheel too long. I mean, the response that, well, that's what we've been doing. The COOF was good for a lot of things. Everybody being on Zoom calls acknowledged what they were trying and what they have been pushing to the children this entire time. And if their immediate response is, well, that's how it's always been, well, then it's overdue for an overhaul.
Well, and the bigger part is that, yes, there was, and this is just like the whole racism argument, there was a time in our society where being gay, lesbian, bisexual was not acceptable.
It wasn't. It was
almost like a shadow ban. It was
Exactly.
like a thing that people
That's a
didn't
good way to
talk
put it.
about. And even before that, you know, it was an attackable offense. There are religious extremists on both sides of this.
Yeah.
And you can view it as a religion thing because there are anti-gay, anti-bisexual.
Oh, you can. It's yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there are groups that are extremely bigoted in their views on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are also groups who live this way, feel this way, and are trying to fight for themselves.
Yeah.
But the media push
Yes.
on both sides of this is what the problem is because we grew up during a time period where, I mean, how many shows had a character going through a struggle with their sexuality and coming out to someone close to them? I mean, it was the OC, and then...
well, you're talking like 2000s when this movement really started to gain momentum. Because I do remember in the 90s, there was an ad campaign where it was like, I'm sure you remember this, it was like, I just remember it started with, boys kissing boys, girls kissing girls. What does it all mean? And then it had like a number for something. I can remember, this was like the 90s when this started. Actually, it might have even been the 80s.
And then it became kind of this Sex in the City. They've got the gay friends. They've got the stereotypes. I mean,
Will and Grace.
Yes,
yeah, it just
Will
started
and
to become
Grace.
mainstream. You're
It
right.
became mainstream. It became more accepting.
Yeah,
And now it's like they're stoking up bitterness again.
yeah. It's just division and
One
hatred.
side against the other.
That's all they want.
And that's the thing is that the LGBTQ community is a community, but it's also separate groups of people.
What's the Q?
Queer,
LBG. What's the G?
gay, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual,
and
queer.
I guess I'll have to look up definitions. I thought queer was covered.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, really? That's a rabbit hole? I mean, I know that they're
There's-
trying to force on an entire secondary alphabet onto there. And of course, we have seen this in the last couple of years. Actually, I think it was 2017 or 2018. There was a huge push to get a P put onto this acronym. And I'm glad that it failed.
No, it's still being pushed.
Is it?
And that's exactly what this is about.
Wow, I thought
Is-
that died.
No,
I mean,
that
obviously it didn't, but I thought the mainstream part of it did.
within the next 10 years, I guarantee you they're going to try and turn the P into a protected class.
Oh, I mean, look at the push we were just seeing right now.
Yes.
Look at the kickback when all we said was, don't talk to young kids about
Well,
this stuff.
and look at the Supreme Court Justice nominee right now.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
It is all about that letter P, and saying that Disney's not connected to that. Wake up,
Yep.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah. We saw the leaked Zoom call where it showed that their producers and directors are literally talking about how they want to insert as much of this stuff into their children's programming as possible. Go Daily Wire, make more content. Anyways,
Yes, Daily Wire. Please
Daily
put out
Wire,
some
make
kids
children's content, make safe stuff.
And I mean, going back to some of it really is just the parents need to take control of the
absolutely.
situation and
Absolutely.
cut your kids off from TikTok because
mean-
we've seen.
Oh yeah. TikTok definitely is not a it's not a children's app. If your kids happen to have phones, ban it from their phone. Just
Yes.
save yourself trouble. We're not even talking about Chi-Com anything. We're literally talking about the nature of their algorithms push children in certain directions. And as we said, children are very susceptible. So
Well,
ban
and
TikTok.
we have a family member currently who is in love with Disney.
Yes, that's fair.
This person absolutely loves everything Disney,
Yeah.
and oh man, she had a very hard time. You remember what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago when it came out that Disney had so many child abductions every year? Going
Oh
on
yeah,
at the
that's still
parks?
going on. They're still arresting people for child trafficking. in Disney.
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah.
And the judge was connected to that case. But
Yeah, Judge Ketanji Brown. That was she was on the Pizzagate trial too.
yes, and no, there was another judge who was actually arrested for evidence being
Oh
linked
yes,
to
yep, you're right.
the
you're right.
trafficking.
Yep.
But and I feel so bad for this family member because she's like the greatest person. She's so bubbly, and do you remember when everything came out about Michael Jackson and
Oh yeah.
she was in love with him and it broke
Oh,
her heart?
yes,
It
it
was just
broke her
there
heart.
are innocent people in the crossfire here who are
yeah.
going to have to make a decision on if they're going
Yeah.
to look the other way and still support something because they love the creativity behind it.
Well, I mean, I feel like anyone who is not on the side of this bizarre cult trying to abduct children, will say, okay, the line is children.
Yeah.
The line of you can no longer just look away when you know this is going on, you know it's affecting your children. And it's very controversial to say, but I think that this campaign actually started with the push to demonize essentially stay-at-home moms. If you look at, there's been a distinct push, and there's nothing wrong with, obviously, and it's sad that I have to say this, but there's nothing wrong with pursuing a career. There's nothing wrong with living your life. There is something wrong with saying there's something wrong about wanting to stay home and raise your family.
Yes.
And that is the problem. That movement has been going on for so long that now someone who, what do you do? Oh, I'm a mother. Yeah, wasting your life. They've come out so hard against it that now, it almost seems by design, we can isolate the children because we've encouraged the mothers to go to work. It's just, there's a rabbit hole here. I see the connections. I'm going to start drawing up things on the wall and connecting them.
Well, and it goes to a bigger statement that the United States, for some reason, we are all so concerned with how the world is viewing our side, and we need to identify. That's why, when I say the LGBTQ plus community, and I said don't look into all the different definitions because it actually it will make your head spin, is because people feel this need to be validated in their choice to be who they are instead of just simply being who they are.
Very true. Very true. Everyone has to be special. It's main character syndrome.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like they have to be special and they have to fight an oppressor and overcome them. And you know what? Maybe Marvel movies are to blame after all. Ever since Iron Man, it's all been about overcoming adversity, man.
Yes, we're all about the being the little guy.
Oh, we seem to be getting bored here. Let's go ahead and hop over to the post-millennial. Now, this is, oh my God, this just, again, this is...
Of course CNN would...
Of course, CNN's Brian Stelter, Mr. Potato Head himself, defends Disney from pedophilia and grooming accusations. Oh my God, I'm not going to go too much into this, but this just shows where the media stands on this whole thing. And I have heard and seen plenty of rumors that this guy's on the out. Do it. Do it.
Well, and I love the caption. Why the right-wing media is targeting Mickey Mouse. We're not targeting
That's what
Mickey
we're
Mouse.
doing. We're targeting Mickey Mouse. That's
Mickey
it.
Mouse had nothing to do with the corporate execs.
Divert. I gotta divert what they're talking about. Oh my goodness. So, quote, in the United States, we're seeing a theme of the midterm elections emerging. It's the way you can see a wave start to form far from shore before it breaks on the beach. The theme, the talking point on the right, is about protecting kids from the dangers of the Walt Disney Company, Stelter said. Really? But Disney is just a stand-in. It's just a symbol for something bigger, a conservative backlash to grow an acceptance of gay and transgender people, a conservative fear that traditional beliefs are being trampled on, and their entire networks that program to this fear and many politicians that react to it. That's the real story here. God, they live in a different world. They have been in their own bubble, eating their own refuse for so long that reality just isn't a thing anymore.
Well,
yes,
no,
we're upset with Disney. That's where the problem is. It's Disney.